Yo, guys, what is up? Moxsy here with another episode of Moxsy's Bar, my weekly podcast. We will be doing this podcast every weekend on Sunday. We're changing our time to 3 p.m. And as you've noticed on the screen already, we have our first guest, a staple in the Borderlands community, and one of my favorite YouTubers. Welcome to Derchlands.
Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah, if you guys don't know me, I've been around the Borderlands community for a while and popped in Moxie's stream the other day to say hi because people are telling me I need to check them out, and yeah, now I'm here.
Hell yeah. Well, good to have you. So if you guys haven't seen this podcast before, it's not super structured, but we will be going in order. We're going to talk about the most recent patch notes and discuss the promises that were made. We're not going to go super in depth with that, and then we're going to talk about the new DLC, thoughts on that. I'm going to have some questions for Derchland, and then we'll get to your guys' answers or questions at the end. So with that, starting with the patch notes, what are your thoughts on all of these promises that they're making but haven't added yet? Is that good for you? Are you satisfied with that yet? Or are you looking forward
I'm
to...
in love with a lot of it. I wish we would have got more performance on this first big patch. I was kind of disappointed with that. I understand performance is difficult and takes some time, and these patches, if they go under they have to go under certification for consoles. So, if they try to get one out within a month, and it's going to take 2 weeks of certification, you only have 2 weeks to actually do things, which is tough.
Mm.
But I was really hoping for some more there. Um, After that, though, I mean, the bank, that is insane news. I pretty much love the rest of it, and I'm fine with it not being here yet because this stuff isn't stuff that just happens easily. Like for the bank example,
Mm.
if you guys don't know, we're getting over double the bank size, and they're going to keep increasing it over time. This is something we never had before, but you can't do that without addressing the performance issues because that's going to make menu lag 10 times worse.
So my question for you there is, yes, we're getting more bank space. Yes, we're getting like performance patches, and we're getting like a test dummy. But things like good performance and like a test dummy were already in Borderlands 2, more or so less at release. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of in this like weird limbo with Borderlands where I love the game. I'm so happy it's out. I've been waiting forever. And I know that they worked hard on it, and like I have a ton of hours, but I'm at this weird limbo where I'm like, is Borderlands 3, was it in an acceptable state at launch, or like all of these things with like the character bugs, the skills not working, a lot of weird interactions that weren't intended. Like obviously it's difficult in a game like this to test everything, but there's some things there and like some things here that like I don't know. It just felt like the game was in development for so long, and to be releasing the state is just kind of confusing for me.
Yeah, I'm really torn on a lot of that stuff. So just the general performance stuff, I'm definitely disappointed in. If they get it fixed up, I can forgive it and move on. But if it continues to lag past these first few patches, then I'm going to be more upset about it. The bugs, the bugs in the interactions. That's, I mean, see, I'm not a developer, but I give them a little bit there because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many interactions in this game. I don't think there's another game out there with this many like interactions of skills and gear and all that stuff. With just all the random generated loot, all the weird interactions they make, it's really hard to test all that and catch it all. And once you put something out in the wild, the amount of time that people put on it is just makes
Yeah.
all the testing you could dream of pointless. I used to play a lot of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and the devs talked about that. They go, we can test something for a month, and then as
Mm-hmm.
soon as we release it, the play time in the first day is like 1,000 times all of our testing. So like things come to light a lot faster than they would have. All that being said, they should have caught some of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So it's tough on a lot of that stuff, and I don't know how some of that stuff did it change last minute. Was it adjusted? Was it? I mean, we just don't know that stuff. So
Do you think that
I
they
don't know.
changed? Because
There was some
the
last minute stuff that I mean, they were working on
yeah,
stuff pretty late in the game and changing things just because they were working on this game for a long time. I mean, on one of the couch co-ops, they were saying how, kind of at the last minute, they were throwing new things in, like, I was it Athenas, the guy that's riding the bug guy, the Ratches, like that was a last minute change that they threw in, and just
I
from the gameplay demo, I saw some differences in things they were doing.
gotcha.
So
One thing that
they were
was
working on this stuff until the end.
one thing that was interesting to me. I remember watching I think it was Baru that put out a video that was like he put out a Melee Amara video before anyone had played level 50 as like a level 50 Amara build, and it was Melee and it looked crazy. And I think that was a point where a lot of people like I think Amara was you and I both play a lot of Amara was like
Yeah,
at a point where like I mean she was the least popular Vault Hunter. I think that definitely helped sell her to some people that were on the fence. But in that video he said like Zane is stupid like good like the things that Zane can do at in game like while Amara is cool like you should see what Zane can do. And then
hmm
the game released and then Zane is the most underperforming character I would say in my I think that's pretty agreed on but
yeah. That's why I don't like to speculate things too early. I said to a bunch of people, I don't. Can we curse on here?
yeah.
Okay. I said to a bunch of people, we don't know shit about this game, and I was actually going to do a video titled that, like, we don't know shit about Borderlands 3. An example I keep going back to, and people have probably heard me repeat this a few times, is it took 18 months for people to figure out the Pimpernel was good on Maya. 18 months. Like, no one touched the Pimpernel on Maya until
Yeah,
UVHM was out, or the
very
peak.
true.
Um, People said when Borderlands 2 came out for like almost a year that Critical Ascension was a trash skill and the worst capstone in the franchise. Um, just so many things were said early on that if you go back and look at what we were saying about Borderlands 2 when it came out,
Hmm.
it's laughable.
So
So
do you
I
think
just take
then
everything with a grain of salt right now because like there's some things that are obvious, and I think we're better at figuring this stuff out because we've played so much Borderlands now.
mm,
But we haven't discovered a huge chunk of the potential in this game with all these combinations. I think we're just scratching the surface here. And I think a
very
lot of
true.
assumptions people are making now, they just don't know.
Have you seen the shooting star Amara melee build that was posted to Reddit like a few days
No, I don't
ago?
think so. I've been
It was
disconnected the last day.
super crazy skill interaction. I was gonna make a video about it, but lapsed on that. But a guy posted to Reddit that basically the shooting star makes you shoot like these crazy, or your melee shoots like some sort of increased damage, and when you use the face puncher with it, it just makes the face puncher one shot at like every enemy.
Nice. See,
But
that's
yeah,
that weird stuff that it's like, how do you test that and find it with just like it's a combination of some skills, some gear, and that with all these things out there. It's hard to test and catch all that stuff. And some of that stuff, if we find so like on the nerfs, because that's kind of on the topic of the
yeah,
patch,
I was
like
about to get to that. The
if
nerfs.
the way I look at the nerfs with OP stuff, because some people make the argument, this is Borderlands, it's all about being OP, they shouldn't stop us from being OP. I think if you do OP stuff that combines a bunch of things to make it OP is much different than I can put this gun on any character without any skills and it's OP.
Hmm.
And I think that's the kind of difference. It's the Deputy Sale, I think is the perfect example of that. Deputy Sale was OP as
Yep.
hell. But That's actually another good example. Deputy Cell was late in the game too. It took a while to figure that out, like a while after the Orphan Maker was out. And it was OP because combining all the mechanics with certain gear made an OP thing. You couldn't just put the Orphan Maker on sale and it was OP. It was like a combo of stuff. And that's kind of how I look at like my Sheriff Amara right now, because some people, say, "Oh, Dirt, you're okay with these nerfs, but what if your build got nerfed?" And like nothing in my Sheriff build is OP on its own.
Yeah.
It's OP when you combine this stuff. Now, if they tweak the way Do No Harm is working with Ties That Bind, I'm personally okay with that. I think that's a little
Still
unintended.
be one-shotting most things, I feel like,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, I'll still be one-shotting things. The Do No Harm or the Ties That Bind enemies will still take a ton of damage, and Remnant will go and just kill everything else. So it's still going to work.
Do you So Amara, like, realistically hasn't been touched yet. I mean,
Yeah,
they've
she had
fixed,
two little things,
yeah, two little
but
things.
they were both pretty inconsequential.
And then, I mean, I would say the biggest nerf. A lot of my builds have used the Cutsman, the Crossroads, the
Hmm.
Lyuda, and
The
most,
October
like,
17.
notoriously the Elemental Projector, which still is
Yeah.
90% increased damage for doing like absolutely nothing.
So I thought
Um,
that was bugged from the start because the Bone of the Ancients in Borderlands 2 were like the ultimate relic for everything you do.
mm,
And they were what, like 45% bonus elemental damage? I mean,
yeah,
bonus
and like
elemental
cooldown.
damage is huge because it's pretty much multiplicative with everything. Um, and to put 180 on that just seemed broken from the start. So I was expecting that to come down. Even though you have to apply the dot to you to get it,
Mm,
it's not that hard to do that.
no,
And I mean, it's still 90%. It's still like twice, two times a bone. And then some of those other ones, like the Leota is a perfect example of something that I just thought was stupidly broken from the
yeah, I'm
start.
happy they got nerfed.
Um, and the thing is, it's still one of the strongest guns in the game. So, they didn't nerf it to the point it sucks. You can still destroy. I think I've seen people still taking out Grave Ward in one meg or maybe two.
Mm,
So, okay, that doesn't take that long. Um, I haven't played around with the SMGs too much, but
like in general, like legendary SMGs.
yeah, yeah. Oh no, just the ones that got nerfed, the
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crossroads and Cutsman. But
You feel it.
so
They're still good, but you
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
like the
and
Crossroads nerf to like three
yeah, from four to
projectiles per
three.
best is like
So the Crossman's
definitely
more of a
changes the
shotgun now.
feel of the gun. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the same range with it. Um, but so if we compare this to Borderlands 2 in some ways, like Borderlands 2 had a lot of problems with gear, and a lot of stuff was usable. But if you look at snipers in Borderlands 2, you had the Pimpernel and the Leota, and nothing else was even in the same ballpark for snipers. Those two were so far above and beyond every other gun
Mm,
that it's like if you use another sniper, you were just nerfing yourself and challenging yourself. And I did it because I thought some of them were fun. But those two were just leaps and bounds beyond the next ones. And pistols were the same way with the Lady Fist and Herald. And launchers was the same thing with the Norfleet. So you'd have like this like god status gun, and then it was just a mile drop off before the next gun. And it wasn't like that in all classes, but in most of them it was like that. SMGs were a little bit better,
so are
but
you surprised by the nerfs, or do you think it was
no.
like a good call?
So I think it's a good call that we just have to tough through right now, and it's going to make things better in the long run. Because, like I was getting at with the point of that is, we're not going to have that mile drop off between the best two guns or three guns and then like the fourth and fifth gun. It's going to be a better curve,
Mm,
and that's going to increase build diversity, play styles, and give people more things to play with, especially as the difficulty increases. Um,
yeah, I do like that it opens up. more like, oh, like you're, how dare you not use this best gun?
Yeah, because I
Um,
was a big proponent in Borderlands 2 of like trying to get people to try other guns. Like, look, guys, this stuff
Besides
really
the
works.
Herald.
Yeah, yeah, the Herald I just stayed away from. I just didn't find the Herald fun though. That was a big part of it. I mean, I use powerful guns like the Pimpernel, but I found them a lot more entertaining.
Yeah,
Maybe because I had to try.
but like some of those things that they've nerfed like do take away like what I was saying, because I've talked about the nerfs before, but there's like part of the fun in this game, in my opinion, is like the spectacle of like
Hmm.
one, like all these crazy numbers popping up, all the damage you're doing, and then these crazy ass like guns and things that do like have crazy effects. And like, for example, like the hex grenade definitely needed some balancing because it was
Yeah,
like the only grenade that anyone ever needed to use. But like part of like the spectacle of that was throwing some out and just having like all these chains going like everywhere. Obviously, it still does that, but like things like the flacker nerf, like a lot of them just take away from like the initial like feel kind of the gun, and that's where I don't like the nerfs as much.
yeah,
Versus like just changing like the crossroads. This gun about crossroads shooting four things, and it now shoots three pellets. It's called the crossroads. Like that's just
yeah,
taking away from the identity of the gun.
yeah.
Where
And
it's like a point where you don't need to do, like you could balance it a little bit without taking away the identity of the gun.
yep, yep. I totally agree with that. And the thing that has me optimistic there is we can maybe talk them into changing it back and maybe
Do you?
just balancing it in a different way. I mean, they've
Oh,
already changed some nerfs. I mean, they originally, God, was it Leave No Trace? They went back and adjusted that,
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
that's true.
I'm thinking
That
I
was
thought there was
needed.
another one that they did. So they're not opposed to that stuff, and they are listening pretty well to us. So if that crossroads like that four pellets is really a thing, we could get some voices together and make some bring some attention to it, and maybe even start a petition on the forums and stuff.
For sure, for
As
sure.
long as we do it in like a productive manner, we can affect change in that game.
And it's clear they are listening because in their most recent patch notes, they literally addressed like most of the complaints that people are, or the most prominent complaints, aka like test dummy. I know you made a video on that. Like bank space is obviously a huge one.
Yep.
I'm sure I'm not alone in having like a bunch of characters just sitting at sanctuary to hold guns for myself. Um, um,
And
but
they
yeah,
don't only listen to like YouTube and Twitch. A lot of people think like, oh, it's just they just care about the streamers and these guys and this and that. But the amount of time they take data from just people even emailing them,
mm,
so many different responses. Obviously they're reading the forums and Reddit and all this stuff. Like they really do that. And even if you're not a YouTuber, like you can in fact impact change. Look at the pre-sequel test dummy. They didn't have a test dummy in the pre-sequel. Chuck 80, the same guy who made the Deputy Sale and the Pimp Hab
mm.
builds, he started a petition thread in the forums and they put it in. So I mean, you can make a major impact and change of the game. I mean, anybody can do it.
That's true. That's good. I mean, I like Gearbox as developers a lot. Like this game has turned out really well, and as you can see with like the way like Borderlands 2 worked and went, I truly do believe that things are just going to get better and better and better and better and cooler. But yeah, some of the initial things I think left people a little confused on like their like first moves with the game.
Yeah.
Um, Moving on from that because I wanna segue
Actually,
into
can I just touch
yeah,
one more
yeah,
thing on that?
go for
I
it.
know I want to move on, but um, part of the reason I'm not too upset about some of the misses is because of all the hits. And a hit doesn't excuse a miss, but they got so many things right, and they changed so many things from Borderlands 2 to this that were like really community asked for. And this game is almost just a massive quality of life increase. that
Oh
some of
yeah,
the things that I
world's
wanted that aren't
difference.
in there, it's like, well, they did these 100 things, but they missed these three.
Mm,
That might
true.
not be the right numbers, but that's kind of how I look at a lot of that stuff. Is just, not everything is perfect, and they're making improvements.
No, I definitely agree. Like all of my gut reactions to this game were like, hell yeah, like this is the guns, the audio, like honestly the only thing that I like gut reaction like didn't like was as much was just the story, but it had its ups and downs. That's for another time though.
Yep, that's a whole nother
um,
topic.
well, so I want to get your like gut reaction to your first time playing the DLC, and finishing it. I don't know. So obviously, there's more to the DLC than just beating Haunt. But like gut reaction, first time beating Haunt. Like, what did you think?
I was kind of amazed at how beautiful the map was. I just kept looking around and like, this thing is for like a free DLC. This is a lot more effort than we got in the pre-sequel. In the pre-sequel, we had like a Halloween event where we got the crappy Torg pumpkin gun, and all they did is they reskinned a few enemies in an existing map and just gave them like different heads, I
Mm.
think, and then they basically got pumpkin heads, I believe, and that was it. So
The
I mean,
pre-sequel
but
was
it
a
was, it
different
was
beast.
still, yeah, it was still kind of like cool. It's like, hey, we're getting this little thing, and that's kind of what I was thinking with these events coming up. And all of a sudden, I'm playing through this map, and there's these ghosts, and there's new mechanics. I'm getting new gear, and then even though it was kind of a Tron reskin, the fight had different mechanics. So
Yeah, the
I
new.
thought the the quality of it for a free event was something we've never seen before in Borderlands. So that kind of blew me away.
So on the right track then with the free DLCs.
Yeah, and if they're
Are
gonna
you?
keep doing these, like, so we're gonna have terror mechanics, are we gonna have like cheer mechanic, or I don't know, whatever mechanics for the Christmas one, and that could open up so much. I mean, you put out that really awesome video about the terror mechanic build, like the infinite ammo and stuff.
Thank
Well,
you.
if all of a sudden we keep getting these for different events, like, holy crap, that's gonna open up so many
Oh,
different ways to
so
play this
much.
game. And that's the main thing. Like, that's my thing, is like build diversity. And a build is not a skill tree. A build is a skill tree combined with gear.
Mm-hmm.
A skill tree is just a skill tree. So the amount of builds that we can get with all these anointments is kind of mind-boggling, and the fact that they might keep putting out more of these with different anointments too. I'm pretty blown away by that idea. That's
Yeah,
Jesus.
I
That's a
agree.
lot.
I think, I mean, by far and away, my favorite part of the new DLC is the new anointments, just because one, it opens up so much more build diversity, as you were saying. The initial DLC, I was like the DLC in itself. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed with it, even though it's free. The only reason I say that I was disappointed with it initially, like first gut reaction, was just that I knew that this was gonna be our DLC, with what they said till December 5th, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are already, um, like, I'm sure you've seen this yourself, but as any game does, like, the numbers and interest in Borderlands is beginning to drop off, and I think, and pretty steeply, honestly. And I think part of that is, one, the like, there's some end game elements that I think should have been there that aren't yet, and then also like, Gearbox's nerf to people's like characters and stuff like that, I think
Yeah.
has some people like upset and losing some interest in the game. So with the new DLC, I was kind of hoping we still haven't finished the end of this, their like celebration week, and I'm hoping we get our Vermivorous or Terramorphous or some sort of
They did say there's a spooky surprise coming that's not this DLC.
Yeah.
So
So
we have something hitting hopefully Monday. But so I just looked at this thing different. Like I was when I heard about this thing, I was thinking like pre-sequel, I wasn't thinking like DLC. But
I see what
on
you're
those
saying.
numbers a lot too. I actually did a lot of reading of the Steam chart numbers for Borderlands 2 because people would make all these arguments. Oh, this killed the game. When in fact you go look at the numbers and it was the opposite. It like helped the game. But Borderlands 2, when it released, it was averaging 60,000 concurrent players on Steam on the first month,
Yeah.
and then by like month 6, it was down to like 7,000. And that's Borderlands 2, one of the most successful video games of all time.
Yes.
And then what happened after that is UVHM came out, then it just skyrocketed up and just kept and kind of well, it didn't skyrocket, but it kept raising for a while and then it stayed steady. So like Borderlands 2, even when the Scarlet DLC Engage came out, like those early DLCs, it was still losing a ton of players
Mm.
every week, even with those. So I don't know that the player drop off is any worse than that. And if even if you like go look at like Call of Duties and pretty much all games, like
Yeah.
your opening month is
Have that
big, and
beat.
then you usually cut in half by the second month, and the third month you usually cut in half again. So I don't know that this player drop off is that much worse than that. And a lot of people like to point those out and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but that's kind of a natural cycle. I don't know if there's a causality to it yet because I don't think we have enough to know. So I don't like jumping to those conclusions of this is happening because of this, and
Very
this.
fair.
I
Very
mean,
fair.
you can put those things together, but I also just think like, yeah, it's somewhat natural. And is it elevated because of the performance issues and the nerfs? Probably, but how much of the drop off is this or that? Because I mean,
Yeah.
as a
Versus
moderator on
just
the
the
forums,
actual.
I hear a lot of these people like, I'm quitting this game forever, and then they're posting on the forums for 8 hours a day and playing the game all day. So it's like, are you? Some people just love to hate. So
Yeah. In everything.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I I wanted more like the DLC. I finished around the map. I'm like, yeah, it was kind of short, but again, what am I expecting for kind of a free little thing?
Yeah.
This isn't the campaign DLC that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
so
just like a
excited
little bit
for
of it's a
when
little
that
bit of
first
gravy.
drops.
Now, I will say, um, having the event in the entire world for 6 weeks, I don't know how I feel about that.
So you kind of would like it to be shorter, like the
No, no, no.
ghosts and the
Duration,
interactions, or what are you saying by that?
like the ghosts are in every map, and the gear drops in every map. So, am I going to be really sick of ghost skulls popping out of enemies after 6 weeks?
Probably.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people are saying, hey, Gearbox, we'd like a way to turn this off,
That would be nice.
and I think that would be a nice choice. And then if we want to go back and farm the guns, we can turn it on. We can go run maps. We can get back into heck.
Um,
Um, yeah,
and one of the most asked questions that I get on my recent terror videos and like also like Discord and stuff is, what happens when this DLC ends? What happens to the terror anointments? I don't know if this is confirmed. I'm pretty sure you and I have touched base on
it's
this, but that
confirmed that you
it's
keep them.
confirmed. Okay, so they
Yep,
are going to stay around
yep.
forever.
And
So
there is gear to stack terror on yourself,
yeah,
so you'll be able to use it too. And it's not that hard to do that stuff. So, um, you know, gaming session, uh, just said something a lot of people are saying. And he's upset that they dropped it in the middle of the Anointed week. I see where those people are coming from because you're farming for these anointments.
oh, I see. And now
But
you can't get them anymore because everything's pretty much just terror.
I've seen like half and half in my game. It feels like I'm not sure on the exact numbers or we've ran it, but the flip side of that is we're gonna want this terror stuff, so farm it hard now while you can. because, like I was saying before, sometimes it takes a while to figure out interactions and figure out just stuff in the game. There's going to be, I can't guarantee this, but I have a feeling we're going to see some pretty broken OP combos come out of this terror stuff.
Oh,
And
for sure.
we might not figure that out until it's over. Or we might not figure it out till there's a week left, and all of a sudden you're going to be in a crunch to get all this gear. And the anointment drops are going to be over, so there's going to be less of it, so it's going to be harder to farm it.
Mm-hmm.
So farm it hard now. Like, now is the time to farm terror gear like crazy. You can
Yeah.
farm the other anoint gear wherever, but farm it now and just make your mules. At this
So,
point, if you're a hardcore player, if you're on Twitch in the forums, if you're one of those people, make your fucking mules. I know it's not perfect. I know I want more bank space too, but it's really easy to make mules, and it's going to give you the space you need.
yeah, so far I've been able to get like the Terra anointments that I want, but not on the gear that I want it on.
Exactly.
And I think that's gonna add a lot because like right now, like the build I'm showcasing while we're talking is a crazy build, but the anointments are on gear that I would never use unless, I'm only using because they have those anointments. So
Yeah.
that grind in of itself is going to add a lot more. And there's the challenges in the DLC.
Yep.
I haven't gotten anywhere close to finishing all those challenges. I don't know about you, but I'm happy that those are added. And then there's the payoff of the character skins behind those challenges.
Yep. Yeah, I like all that stuff. It kind of gives us a little bit more to do. Um, I might not have gone to farm Eldragon during the Terror Week if it wasn't for that challenge. So, yeah, that stuff's kind of nice. Just kind of gives people an incentive to play. And some people are really into those, but especially because they're tied to rewards, it's even better. So, yeah, it definitely gives you a reason to do it other than just doing it to do it. So, yeah, like, is this thing perfect? No. Um, but it's adding a lot to the game. And if they keep doing these for free additions to the game has me pretty excited.
Yeah, and if they're willing to add completely different new mechanics into a free DLC,
Mm-hmm. Mechanics are
that's
huge.
a really good sign, I think, for the future of what the paid DLCs are gonna add.
Yeah. So if you go back and look at like paid campaign DLCs from Borderlands 2, to me the biggest addition on a lot of them were actually the gear. Because almost all of them had some game-changing gear that just changed the entirety of the game.
Oh, for like
Like
the
some people like
Sandhawk.
really, huh?
I said the Sandhawk.
Yeah, Sandhawk, Pimpernel, Orphan Maker. I mean, those guns all majorly changed the game, but like Hammerlocks was probably the least popular out of all of them. But that added in the interfacer, the twister, the rough rider.
Oh, the
Not
Twister.
a whole not a whole lot of gear had an impact on the game like the rough rider did to Borderlands 2.
Very true. Just like you saying that stuff, it made like processing in my head. A lot of those weapons though that were like game changing or like really interesting gear were like blues, like rare blues,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it feels like, I don't know your thoughts on this. There are some like cool blues, but in terms of like builds, like almost every build is all legendaries because there just isn't that same kind of like, I don't know, the cool blues they turned into legendaries.
Yeah.
And then they're like in terms of like specific mission rewards, like there's a few cool blues, but in terms of like sheer viability, it seems like it's just mainly legendaries, which makes me a little sad about that. But then there's also like a way more legendaries and stuff and random
Yep.
artifacts. So it balances out. But I'm hoping in the new DLCs that we do get some like cool, like unique, like blues and stuff like that that are dedicated drops, because I know they said that they're adding that.
Yeah, so a lot of the blue guns, well, pretty much all of them weren't powerful because of stats. They were powerful because of abilities. And um, they would have actually been way better if they were legendary, because then they'd be based off purple guns, not blue guns. And I'm kind of twisted on this because there's a lot of blue guns that were like close to being awesome if they would have been legendary.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think it's kind of dumb that a blue gun is better than legendary. It's like the fact that like the Lady Fist and the Sandhawk and the Pimpernel were like some of the best guns and they were blue is kind of dumb. And a lot of people actually complained about that. So I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
one
true.
reason
With
Gearbox did some of
Blaze.
that. But then I kind of do miss just like these awesome quest reward guns.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also don't miss it because quest reward farming was the devil. So
Yeah.
like I'm on all different sides of this. Like,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think Jacob's assault rifles was actually a really good example of progression through rarity for uniques in Borderlands 2, because you had a couple of blue ones that just weren't that great. I think like the damn cowboy and stuff, and then you went up to like the hammer buster that was really strong, and then you went up to the Becca, which was like super strong. So it was kind of like good, better, best as you went from blue, unique, legendary, pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that should kind of go in order like that. Like your legendary SMGs should be better than your blue SMGs or your purple SMGs. So the power with the rarity is scaled up right like that. And I think they're doing a better job of that in this game. But I do kind of just miss that awesome blue gun just because
Yeah,
nostalgia.
yeah. This is definitely off topic, but something was curious. I wanted to ask you. So you've obviously been playing Borderlands for a long time,
Good 10
and
years.
yeah, um, I wanted to rack your brain on something that kind of bothered me. So I like the mayhem modifiers, and they kind of tie into this, but for some reason there's something about this game. Maybe you didn't experience it. Maybe it's just because of the skippable cutscenes. But in Borderlands 2, I had no issues like redoing the story. I had fun during it, and I enjoyed playing through True Vault Hunter mode. And in this game, for some reason, it feels like True Vault Hunter mode has like kind of lost its identity, and I think that's because you can just scale up your everything scales with you on normal mode, and you can put mayhem modifiers on normal mode. But the True Vault Hunter playthrough is now less of like an addition onto the game that you can play and enjoy, in my opinion, and more of just like, this is just something I have to get through, maybe for the increase in loot quality.
Yeah.
And so
I
yeah, I
kind
just
of
wanted
hate
your
True Vault
thoughts
Hunter
on
mode in
that.
this game. I love hate mayhem be for some different reasons, but the True Vault Hunter mode thing, I think they did wrong, and I don't know if they can go back and fix it at this point because it might just create too many issues. But um, I think the versions in Borderlands 2 of play on normal, play on true, play on ultimate, like do the story 3 times for each character, was not a good choice, and I think they needed to address that and do something differently. And they kind of did a little bit on this one by letting you get to max level at normal. I think that was an awesome move. But when you
Mm-hmm.
go to normal to true Vault Hunter mode, I wanted to increase in difficulty, and you don't really see that. I mean, true Vault Hunter mode I thought was a total joke.
Yeah, and it
I
didn't feel
do,
like.
yeah.
Keep going.
Sorry, I just want to finish a few things there. Um, I do like being at max level for all of True Vault Hunter mode. That way, everything I find is at max level. I don't have to refarm it. I don't have to save side quest. It's just all good. I think that's amazing. I think that's a cool ass smart move. But in like Borderlands 2, when you went to True Vault Hunter mode, you got new versions of enemies that were tougher. You got ironclads and rabbits and stuff like that. But also enemies I thought they had double health in True Vault Hunter mode too. I know there's a big health increase in this game. I don't know the mechanics behind True Vault Hunter to normal, to be honest.
Mm.
But it feels like there's no scaling of enemies at all because when I go into it, I've got my good gear and just everything just insta gives when I shoot it. And it
Yep.
makes no sense. It's completely boring. So then you have to do mayhem on it, and if you don't like mayhem, you're kind of fucked because just playing without mayhem is boring. And if mayhem frustrates you, what do I mean, mayhem one isn't that bad, so I guess that's the answer. But it could have been dealt with a lot better, I think.
Mm. And you play on PC, so did you do your True Vault Hunter mode playthrough with your mayhems on
Yeah,
when you did it? Oh, okay.
yep,
So
and that made it way better.
yeah, so I'm on console, and for some reason that feature was different. I believe they've changed it now. I'm pretty sure I saw
Yep,
something that
they
they
changed
changed
it
it.
now, which is a good change because there was
But
some
yeah.
debate which way they're going to go with the change. Because some people were thinking what they did on PC was an accident and not intended,
Mm.
and that they were going to revert PC to the way console did it. And if that was true at the time, then Gearbox listened to our feedback and changed it the right way, which is cool. Um, but the second part of that you were bringing up is kind of like it gets hard to keep playing through the story. Where Borderlands 2, we did it a bunch. I'm kind of getting the same feeling I did when Borderlands 2 launched because I was doing a co-op play when Borderlands 2 launched and a solo play.
Mm.
And I remember it was like, all right, we did normal. Now we're doing True Vault Hunter mode, and I'm doing this on my solo character. And there's parts of the game like, oh, I'm just sick of running this story
Yeah.
because I was doing it so fast. When I stopped running the story all the time, then I would run the story. Then I loved it because I just wasn't like pounding through it so fast. And I kind of had the same thing going on right now, where you're doing so many different characters and so many playthroughs. Sometimes there's parts of that story I'm like, oh, I'm sick of this part. So I think that's just for me that's just an effect of just overdoing it in the first month.
Yeah. Was there I like I legitimately don't know, like in Borderlands 2 there was like a very clear like change in enemies when you went from Borderlands to or from normal to true. Like they were all like different named. A lot of enemies
Hmm.
got like armor. Was that in like I genuinely like didn't notice if like the enemy types like drastically changed. I don't think they did.
In this game,
Yeah, to True Vault Hunter mode.
I haven't seen it. I guess there's more anointments or anointed enemies in
But
True
like in
Vault
turn,
Hunter,
yeah.
but they're not like different enemies. I don't know. Did the
Which is
like
such a
those badass tinks in normal mode have armor? So I noticed there's a lot more armor in True Vault Hunter mode, where I don't remember much of it in normal mode.
I not entirely sure.
Yeah, and
Playing
I
the
don't
fact
know
that
for
we
sure as
don't
well.
like that we aren't sure versus like I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's just like kind of a confusing step back where they've made so many steps forward.
Yeah, I do think the loot drops. Well, the loot drops. Someone in the chat just said are they're the same in True Vault Hunter mode. Kind of, but kind of not. I mean, they say the drops are better, and I think we need way more sample size to know the difference in rates.
Yeah.
But the fact that you get more badasses means you get better loot because badasses are more likely to drop better loot. So just in that fact alone, I mean, you're
Yeah.
anointeds drop more loot and have often dropped better loot, and there's way more anointed. So just in that one fact alone means you do get better loot in True Vault Hunter mode. If you're just farming Grave Ward, I don't know if it's better for that.
Mm.
But if you're playing through the story and running uh, circles, slaughters, and stuff, the drops are better.
It's I just I but at the same time I like wouldn't like this, but I would. But if there was something that was locked more behind True Vault Hunter mode than just loot, like if there was like a certain tier to like your Guardian rank that you could unlock part of it through normal and then another part through True Vault Hunter or something that like was a little bit more incentive to play it or more
Mm-hmm.
rewarding to finish it. Maybe if there was not like I don't know, like certain anointments that you had to that were only dropped in like True Vault Hunter mode or like something like that.
They did say when they make Mayhem 4, there is going to be certain loot only on Mayhem 4.
That's cool. Do you think that's gonna
So
be? I saw that they announced that, and that's super awesome. Do you think that's gonna be more of the same modifiers and just ramped up, or I feel like they have to add like new things in terms of modifiers for that
I kind of hope instead of adding modifiers, they just like increase the static stuff.
kind of like like OP modes.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, you can only throw in so many modifiers, and I think Mayhem 3 is already pushing that.
Mm.
So I don't know what they're going to be doing with it, but I kind of hope it's just enemies have more health, enemies have this, enemies have that, but not. I mean, if you add in like another 2 stacks of random modifiers, it could be bad.
Yeah,
But they
I
also said they're rebalancing the modifiers too, which sounds good. But a lot of me just misses good old fashioned OP modes. It's just like, okay, increase difficulty, go.
yeah,
It's not
and
like, yeah, that's where Mayhem. Like, I love that Mayhem is included. I love that we have a customizable, settable difficulty on launch, which we've never had before. Um, I sometimes I actually like Mayhem modifiers quite a bit while farming a boss because I get really bored boss farming. Some
mm,
people don't. But if I go kill a boss 20 times and I do the exact same thing 20 times, I'm bored. I'm not having fun. But if Mayhem switches up which gun I should kill that boss with and I have to kill him in a different way, it slows it down, but it entertains me more.
mm. Yeah, I was having something similar where I kind of like the mayhem modifiers would basically just make me switch my setup. So if it
Hmm.
was minus sniper damage, I wouldn't use the Lyuda. I'd switch to something else. If it was no incendiary, I'd switch to something else, and just like running that, which I liked. But the I don't know. There's good things to the mayhem modifiers. I'm happy that they're in the game. But yeah, I do miss, as you said, like the OP stuff, especially for like just like as someone who's now making YouTube videos and content, mayhem modifiers are a
Hmm.
big stress factor for people on YouTube. As
Oh,
like
God, I hate him for that.
I sat one day maybe reloading a slaughter shaft for about an hour just trying to get neutral modifiers so that I could show off gameplay because
Yep.
if it's too advantageous
People
then
yell at you,
yeah,
and
people
then you
yell at you and
don't
like,
include
oh
it, people yell at you. It's a lose, lose, lose.
yeah.
It drives me nuts.
And if you play with negative modifiers, then it's like, oh, like this build looks bad. Why would I try this? So
I had a
yeah,
guy come into my. I have a thread about my sheriff build on the forums. And I had a guy come in there just telling me how it sucks and it doesn't work, and I'm like, dude, I'm literally putting a playthrough up of it, and I'm like honest about the shortcomings and how I'm adjusting it to get those to make the build better. And he's like, well, I wouldn't run the slaughter shaft, and I just can't do it. This build can't do the slaughter shaft. I'm like, I've done it, man. It works. I've done it co-op. So he uploads this video where he goes, "Yeah, I farmed modifiers for 15 minutes, and this is what I got." And he had the worst possible modifiers. I'm like, "So you farmed for the worst possible modifiers, and then he put up like a 2 second clip of that slaughter shaft where like 6 badasses spawned in front of him, and then he missed a shot, so he had no overkill built up, and like it wasn't working. That he was like, see, it doesn't even work." And there's 6 badasses, and he just basically shot one, and he wasn't killing it. He was just like putting damage on it, and he had to phase grasp it twice. But the damage sharing ended up killing 4 of the badasses. So I'm like, even in these bad circumstances that you're telling me my build sucks, you killed 4 out of 6 badasses without going down. Cool. Okay.
yep,
But it's that kind of thing where like people just like there's the moving the bar arguers or whatever. The people that just like, well, if this, and like Mayhem just lets them do that more, and it kind of drives me nuts.
yeah. And I had this similar thing with like anointments. Like I was trying to on my channel show off like builds without using anointments, and now I've started to show them off with anointments because
Hmm.
I would get like also like flamed by people like, yeah, but you should be using a 300% increased damage after phase slam, and I'm like, yes, I could be doing that, but I can also do this in one clip without that, and like,
Yeah.
look how good it works. And it's like, oh, this isn't. It's too slow. It's too slow. So like stuff like that is frustrating because like it's now how I structure it is like I want to show people like this is a goal for you for an anointment as like a end game option, but you don't need it kind of deal.
Hmm. Anointment farming legendaries, that is going to be the end game farming because just getting these guns, even with world drops, isn't that hard for the most part.
Yeah, getting like the
But
base
getting the
ones.
anointment you want on the legendary that you want, and then trying to get the stats you want on it, like that's a tough role.
Yeah, and I think that's going to become a lot better once dedicated drops happen,
Hmm.
so that you can actually. I miss dedicated drops a lot. Being able to
Yep.
like, oh, like I want this shield, I want a 94% sham. I know that I if I do this, I have a chance at getting it. You
Yeah.
know, versus like
So
sitting there doing for 3 hours farming something with no chance of knowing what you're gonna get is just I don't know. But
so
it's gonna
I
get better.
completely agree with that because I liked Borderlands 2 farming better than Borderlands 1, but um I was in the forums quite a bit when Borderlands 2 launched. And it was funny back then, everyone bitched that the farming wasn't like Borderlands 1. And there's people really, really upset about that. Because like Borderlands 2 had almost no world drops, right?
Yeah,
It
like
was,
zero.
or yeah,
You'd be
Borderlands 2,
shocked.
like,
You'd be like
yeah,
screenshotted
world
if you
drops
got
of
like a world
BL2
drop.
was, yeah, crazy. I mean, we all got them, a couple of them just because we played so much, but they were super rare.
Yeah.
And like, even from like Terramorphous, they were rare. But, yeah, so when Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel out, people just bitched that it wasn't like Borderlands 1. Now Borderlands 3 comes out and it's kind of like a hybrid between the two, but it leans more Borderlands 1. People
Yeah.
just bitch that it's not Borderlands 2, and it's just like, and I think the hybrid move is a better way to do this because world drops are fun. I love getting world drops.
Yeah.
It's just it makes me happy. It's a good reaction. But when people were complaining that about the farming, it should be like Borderlands 1, I totally disagreed because, if I want a Maggie, I want to know where I can get that Maggie. And I can just go kill mixed effort and get it. And that's good. It's way faster. So I would like both. Now the problem is they have more guns and sources in this game, and
Yeah.
crowded
Way more.
loot pools are not good experiences either. Because I mean, you brought up the bunker. The bunker had heads and skins, I believe, or maybe it was just heads or skins.
Yep.
But then it was the bitch, the sham, and I thought there was one other thing in that loot pool. Maybe that was it. But when you crowd those loot pools in your drops, especially when the game first launched, 1 in 30 chance of getting a drop, and then your drop, if you had 4 drops, you had a 1 in 4 chance of getting that drop, and then the ads just start stacking up, and you add in parts.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it got
Yeah.
bad.
I feel like
So yeah, if they're able to get more of a better hybrid system, I think they have a huge win. And what I hope they do on that is, well, put some either rewards or drops at the end of Circle of Slaughters and uh, Proving Grounds. But they can also do the Cobra thing just with a better drop rate. 'Cause remember how the Cobra you could get it from the burners and like the
yeah,
one of
and it was a
the
hard drop.
yeah, it
It
was
was
a
hard
hard
to
drop,
get.
but they need to adjust that rate. But I think assigning some drops to certain mobs and certain maps is a
Oh
good
yeah,
thing.
that would be cool, and give you like more things to do than just
Yeah, because then it
like
will encourage you to run
bosses,
certain maps and just not just boss farm.
and then also builds that could do damage and survivability instead of just
Yep.
like because like my boss builds that I put out for Grave Ward are like, hey, like we don't need a single point in health or like cooldown or anything like that because everything
Yeah.
will just be dead before so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So like
But
having
then
something
people
like
are like,
that
oh,
would.
this is the build I should run. I'm like, not for playing the game, man. That's just for farming a boss. Um, yeah, but where else was it? Just lost my train of thought on that. Sorry. Oh, but yeah, by encouraging those, like the Dust in Borderlands 2 was a cool map because you had, I mean, I ran it all the time. It's kind of just my fun run, but you had so many drops in that map because you had the Black Queen, you had the Liuda or Varun
Yep.
from Mob and Gettle, you had the Hammerbuster, you had Tubbies, so you had Pearls and Legendary class mods, and there's a few good chests to run. And you can just run that map. There's so many drops you get in that circle of that map. And I kind of would like that in some of these games too. So like they have like tubbies or chubbies in this game, but they should put loot on them. But yeah, if you could have some of those maps like as you ran it, all right, this area you can drop this area you can drop that. You can just kind of run these and have a chance of getting like 5 legendaries from a map with dedicated sources, and that
Yeah.
becomes a fun run,
Yeah. Those runs aren't really
a thing in
as
this game right now.
besides. I mean, Slaughter Shaft, but besides Slaughter Shaft, there really isn't
Yeah,
much
and Slaughter
of
Shaft
that
is all
kind of
world
thing.
drops. Electro City was the closest to that. So you have that Ernst guy that
Yeah,
drops
if you guys in there.
the. What does he drop again? It's not the one pump. The one pump is from the One Punch Man.
Yeah,
Then
in the
Ernst
train station.
drops something else that's good. Sledge's Shotgun, I think.
Yeah,
No, 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 that's from a different guy.
but
But yeah,
there's
so there's
Kilovolt as well.
yeah, there's Kilovolt. So there's a few like dedicated sources in that map, and that's a good map. It's a circular map, dense mobs. So that would be a map. If you add a couple more things in there, that'd be a hell of a run.
Oh, there's also Rick and Morty, or
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
if I
They're
get
in
their
there. So yeah, that map is
with
actually
their
kind of the closest
shotgun.
thing we have to the dust. Then. So yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna actually do a video just kind of repeating what I just said, um,
this is fine.
just because I want to amplify that to Gearbox because they're working on this. It doesn't mean they're done with it. It doesn't mean they can't
Yeah.
tweak things. So that's when I think it's a perfect example with that road ahead. And everyone here listening to this, if you're in comments now or watching this on YouTube, like if you are on the forums and in that road ahead you saw something awesome that you want, go make a post about it. Be like, hey, I see you guys are doing this. I would like these 5 features added to that. And have that conversation. Have it in Reddit, have it in forums, have that conversation because they're listening and we can impact how they implement these things.
For sure. Um, and I think with that, I was thinking we segue into questions, or is there anything
Yeah.
else that you wanna?
No, I mean, I can just keep ranting forever, but yeah, no, questions are good. The people were asking a bunch earlier.
All right, guys. So if you have a question, type it into the Twitch chat as one singular post, and we'll just be kind of both of us are just kind of grabbing some, and then I have some from my Discord as well that I'm gonna answer. I'll pull one of those up while you guys are typing your questions. And Dirch, if you see anyone that pops up, just make a note of it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna grab some questions from my Discord. All right. Bois wants to know if we could rank the sirens best to worst. Lilith, Maya, Amara, and also wants to know the most useless manufacturer right now in terms of
Ooh.
like bad things. So he mentioned COV weapons. I didn't like COV weapons. I didn't touch them. But with the recent buffs and changes to like things like the Skex skill and the more Linoge, I wouldn't put them in a bottom tier category. For me, the bottom tier category is easily Atlas. Not sure if you agree with that, but I don't think I have a single Atlas piece of gear on me ever, and I just kind of ignore them just from the ones that I've tried. Cool, like manufacturer perk on them, but when it just comes down to like their damage and usefulness, it's just it's not there for me. And
I
then for
agree 100% with Atlas.
you agree with that?
It also doesn't have many legendaries too, on top of the base guns not being that great. So, other than the Q system, which is kind of coming around.
Yeah, I think like the only one that comes to mind immediately is that assault rifle.
Yeah, I think that's the Q system, the regular, just like purple one that's pretty powerful. Other than that, I haven't found anything, but I don't know if we just haven't figured it out yet. But I just don't like the combat loop of it either. I think it's tedious.
Yeah, just want to get your damage out.
Hmm.
um,
Well, the other part of that was ranking sirens.
yeah, Lilith, Maya, and Amara. I'll let you go.
Ooh,
Dude, does Tannis go in there now?
right now, I mean, Amara's new, but I think it's Amara number one just because of the way they're doing skill trees in this game. There's just way more diversity to play a character with 3 action skills and augments, so I don't think it's really fair. Um, Maya number two for me. I mean, God, I love Maya. Um, and then Lilith would be the third, just because the skill trees in Borderlands 1 were pretty damn basic, and her not moving her arms while she did phase walk still bugs the shit out of me.
I would definitely agree with that. Amara, in terms of like build diversity out of all of them and just like overall like fun gameplay, I'd definitely say Amara. Maya right behind that, and then Lilith. However, if I had to rank them in like characters that I want to like sit down and have a chat with, Amara would be the last person, and then Maya, and then I would want to sit down the most and talk with Lilith. I'm just not a huge fan of Amara's voice acting and lines.
Yeah. I thought
Personally,
Maya was pretty vanilla in Borderlands 2 with her voice acting and lines, honestly. I love playing her, but I thought she had some of the least amount of personality of all characters in that game.
yeah, it's been kind of
Uh,
like a trend with their female characters a little
we
bit.
have a question by Gaming Session here about how do we feel about the DLCs, no characters, and do we think we can change their minds? So I I'm mixed on it because the DLC characters to me is where they did some of their best skill tree work. But if they're adding new skill trees, they're we're gonna get their best skill tree work with new skill trees for our existing characters. And new characters would have in previous games, given us 2 new action skills, but now we're gonna get 4 new action skills. New pets, new all these things. So I'm pretty excited about the new skill trees. I think that's completely new and awesome. But I do think we have a chance of getting new characters in this game, even though they said no at first. Because like Borderlands 2, originally they had their plan. They had the 4 DLCs, the campaign DLCs, but then they ended up adding UVHM 2 and the Headhunter packs, and they wanted to do more, but they couldn't do more because of the limitations on consoles. So in this game, if we have a similar Borderlands 2 life cycle, I think we're just going to keep getting more and more DLCs, way more than Borderlands 2 did, because we're in a new age and there's more space for more DLCs and all that. So we're not as limited as we were with BL2. So I think we could get late characters kind of after they're done with their first kind of quote unquote season of DLCs. I think that's when we might get a chance to see them.
And my take on that, I've talked about that before on another episode of Moxsie's Bar, but my opinion on it is I think they're going to do the new skill trees. I think those would be cool. In terms of my opinion on like all that, I do think that it would be absolutely silly for Gearbox not to do additional characters. They have the interest in the game. They have the desire for them. In terms of like from like a business perspective, I think they're basically just printing currency by adding in new DLC characters. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it. And then in terms of like value for adding a tree versus a whole new character, a whole new character is just going to add so much more because you get 3 skill trees, you get another reason to play through the whole story again. And with a new skill tree, super cool. We haven't had it before, and it'll open up a lot of builds. But you can play a new skill tree for a week and kind of be done with it. A new character is just like the amount of like content, gameplay, and interest and reason to like continue is so much higher than just releasing a new skill tree.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be upset if they add a new skill tree, but I would be really shocked if they didn't follow up and make characters as well.
So I wonder if they. I'm stealing this from Mopey. He said this, but he was wondering if they interpreted the data right. So when they said they're doing this choice because they said they looked at the data and it was something like only 5% of the people like actually really played the new characters. Everyone else just would load them up for a couple hours, get up to like level 10, and then just not play them again. And I think there is a lot to be said where most people who play the game do stick to their one character. Not a lot of people actually play all 4 characters. When you just hang out on like Twitch and the forums, it seems like everybody has every character up to level 50 and plays 60 hours a week, but that's a small minority of the players. But on the flip side of that, the people that are still playing the game 1-2 years later are the hardcore players. They're not the casual players that's like, hey, there's a new AAA game. I'm going to go buy it, beat it, trade it in, and buy the next AAA game. Like, that's the casual audience. It's a massive part of the amount of people that play Borderlands 2 or Borderlands 3. And then those people, when a DLC comes out, they'll load it back up and play it. And then they'll put that DLC away, and then they'll go on to the next AAA game. So I wonder if like that's something they can re-look at with the data and say, okay, yeah, a small percentage of the people play the new characters, but those people played it a lot and spent a lot on the game.
Yeah,
Actually, I have one more.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, no, you can go ahead and finish that, 'cause there's a question I want to field after that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I grabbed one too. Yeah, I don't know. All I can say about this is I was just kind of confused on their initial thing. You probably know more about it than I do, but they're like, oh, we looked at the data. More people want characters. That statement confused me because I was just kind of confused on what the data was, but I think you kind of explained that.
Yeah, they pull that through Shift. So do you remember the loot hunt? Not like the
Yeah.
Twitch events, but the official one that Gearbox did where they buffed a bunch of guns in Borderlands 2.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, they put out a bunch, like an infographic of a bunch of data they were able to pull through Shift. And it turned out like Axton was by far the most played character. And so they can pull that stuff out of Shift, and they have all of our like game data in Shift.
Gotcha.
So
Okay, so
they
it wasn't
have
like a questionnaire or something.
they have
It was just
miles
data
of
from...
real data, like data analytics on this game. And that's where they're
That makes
making
a
these
lot more
choices on.
sense.
So they see so much more than we can
Could
possibly
ever,
see.
yeah.
So some of those times it's are they interpreting it right? It's a good question, but people are like, well, this is actually the most popular thing. I'm like, you don't actually know that. I mean, Gearbox is the only one that knows that. Unfortunately, they're not going to give us all their data, so we're kind of at that whim. But here, the question I wanted to address, and I think this is going to be a quick one for me. Chairman Powell said, watching the iterations of your build on the Sheriff Siren has been an inspiration. How soon do you normally decide whether an initial build idea is worth building on, or how often does it bring you in a new direction? Pardon the length of the question. So how soon do you normally decide whether an initial build is worth building on? Fun. That's most of it. If I see kind of a cool interaction between a gun and a skill, I'm going to try to make a build on it. or if I see a gun that I just think is fun, I'm going to try to make a build on it. So to me, I don't actually often do builds of I can kill this boss the fastest, because there's a ton of people that do that and they're really good at it, and I don't think I add anything to that conversation. Um, but like to me, it's just like I'm gonna see just this gun that I enjoy using, and I'm gonna try to find the best way to use it, and that's kind of how I come up with builds. And then how often does it bring you in a new direction? I mean, constantly, because as I'm using that build, if I run onto a brick wall where I'm struggling, I'm gonna have to adjust the build or abandon it and just say this is a niche build that just works here. So I mean, you've been doing a bunch of builds too, Moxie. How do you approach it?
I Good question. My like approach is I try to find something that's good or an interaction that's like kind of unknown. Um, and then I just play around with it and try to make a whole build focusing around either I did a whole build that basically geared around Samsara because I when I initially started using Samsara, I was kind of like blown away by its stats and how good it was. So then I made like a whole build around Samsara, or like I wanted to use like the Nimbus class mod, and so we did game testing and help from people in the Discord to make a whole build that just focused around that. So my approach to it is
That was a cool build too.
thank you. um, my approach is I try to look for something that works better than people realize, and then make a build around that. Like with the Breakneck Banshee, like super cool that you can shoot yourself in the foot and get movement speed and tankiness. So like that was something that I wanted to focus on there. Yeah, that's kind of my process.
And you said you had a question you want to field.
Yeah. Roski wants to know if there's any chance of them adding online PvP modes. Something like Electricity makes a great battle map, so I'd love to see some dueling arenas or maybe even a larger battle royale.
I say hard pass on that. And the reason why is once you introduce something like that, you have to balance way harder. And I know they're doing like balancing now, but not PvP balancing. PvP balancing ruins PvE. That is a big part of what really killed Battleborn. And I think that whole market is almost kind of dead of doing both. Even if it's just little add-ons, it just causes so much more problems in the game that we don't
Mm.
need. And it's better to focus on one and the other, because I mean there's so many times in Battleborn where it's like there's a character I love doing the story campaigns with, but then it turns out that it was a broken interaction in PvP, so they had to like change it or nerf it or get rid of it, and then that character was no longer fun in the story mode, and it's just you lose one way or the other. And especially like a battle royale thing, like Borderlands 1 had the arenas and you could just do your duels in them, but I mean even that, it's just dueling in Borderlands is dumb the way it scales and everything. It's not built for it, and I don't think it should be.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think it could be cool in the game, but I think it would be more problem creating um, than anything else. And I would say like, oh, I'd love for that to happen. If Gearbox hadn't already done, as you were saying, Battleborn, they went and tried that. They took Borderlands, they liked it, they turned it into a PvP mode, and it just didn't work. And because of that game, I don't think that there's any chance that we would get some sort of like PvP battle royale expansion. And Randy in his like almost first like talk or announcement of Borderlands 3, not like first, but came out on stage and said there won't be battle royale, and everyone cheered and shouted.
Yep, I was there
So
for that.
you were there. Oh, that's so cool. I went to
Oh wait,
PAX
no, never
East.
mind, not that one. But he just said that again when I was at the gameplay reel, and yeah, I got a massive cheer.
That's awesome. I went to I really wanted to see Borderlands 3. I actually got in some trouble at work because I went to the bathroom 4 times in an hour during their during their live stream like reveal. Because I really had to watch. But yeah, I went to
Yeah.
PAX East just because I was hoping to catch like a glimpse of something, but all I ended up with getting was the Tiny Tina's or Claptrap's like robot tea party game that's right
Yeah.
next to me. Let's see if there's any other questions.
Here's a good one. If you could design a new endgame activity, um, addition to slaughter shaft, farming, raid bosses, improving grounds, what would it be? For me, it would be to add more Digi-struct peaks to this or something like those. I know like proving grounds are almost like mini peaks, but not really. I Digistruct Peak to me was like some of the most fun because it was like raid boss challenging mobbing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the slaughter shafts are really good. I like them a lot, but they're slaughter shafts or circles of slaughter. They're not peaks. I would really like multiple Digistruct peaks.
Digistruct Peak was some of the best. Like the ramp up, if you guys had done it, the ramp up of like doing it legit, not like jumping over because you could like glitch into the
Hmm.
final arena. But the ramp up and like um the enemies and like getting new crazier enemies like with each playthrough and like adding like Saturn into it. It was just like such a cool experience. So something like that, I agree with Derchlands. My biggest, not my biggest, but something that I'd really like to see. I don't know what your experience is with this, but I originally started playing Borderlands for the co-op experience. I said this before, but my first time playing Borderlands, I like did like split screen with my sister. We loved it, and so for me, that's a big part of Borderlands, and that's something that's been missing. I did my first like stream the other day with multiple people, and it was a lot of fun. But there isn't like a real big need for a co-op because none of the content yet is like that challenging. Like doing solo Digistruct Peak was an absolute headache. Doable, but a headache. So some endgame content that yeah, I'd love something like Digistruct Peak that like incorporates like mobbing with also like having these big bosses. But something that would inspire or create like actual teamwork that would be needed. Something that like because like I picked Amara as my character and like I liked her like team play potential and just like I don't know. I think some endgame content that would create the need, not hard need, like not like you can't do it without two play people, like you have to have two people, but something that made people work together because the content was hard. That is what my hope is for future upcoming like endgame uh, DLC and content.
Have you done any of the Circles of Slaughter four player? Because they're
I was
pretty entertaining four player.
I was doing it yesterday for the first
Okay.
time, and we we got bullet reflect and minus
Ooh,
damage to like everything.
ouch. Yeah, that's brutal. But I've had some fun doing those co-op. Not, but I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, like more things that kind of encourage it is definitely good. But I do notice just playing co-op, like the enemy density seems heavier and a little more intense. And when I go through solo, I'm just like, where'd all those enemies go?
Yeah, it definitely gets my original thing. I'm playing on Xbox, so I tried it before. We did Slaughter Star, and my frames
Hmm.
were so. I
Oh
think
yeah,
part of their
yeah.
performance and stability effects might affect that because I didn't really have any issues running Slaughter Shaft last night. But when I first did it with four people on Slaughter Star, it was maybe 2 or 3 frames per second. It was pretty much
Ouch.
unplayable.
Yeah, that's
So
brutal.
that's also a reason why I've like kind of strayed away from it.
Here's a good one. Lex Anarchy says, would you say they've taken a step back from TPS skill trees and character designs in some ways? I've heard that posed a few times now, and I don't think so at all. I think these skill trees are amazing. I mean, the amount of synergy that Amara has across her three skill trees is insane. Um, Moe's has crazy, interesting, cool mechanics. Um, I think Zane needs some love, but I think the synergy and mechanics are there. But he's kind of in a Wilhelm place. I think it better than Wilhelm, but or almost I kind of compare Zane to Maya in a lot of ways because like Maya had awesome mobbing kind of damage level, but it really tanked off when you hit like raid bosses, and I think Zane's in a similar way. And like Maya was really tanky, and so was Zane. So I think some of that stuff's similar. And then like yeah, Flax skill tree design. I hate Gorillas in the Mist, but I think other than Gorilla in the Mist, like Flax got. I mean, the amount of diversity that we have in these is huge. Because like, again, going to Flak, like Rack Flak to like Fadeaway Flak to Radiation Gamma Burst Flak is like three very different ways to play the game, and that's out of one character and just the action skills. And even within that, you can like really change that diversity. We've seen tons of different ways to play Amara. I mean, again, going from melee to phase grass to kind of boss bashing cast builds and just all these things. It's yeah, I think good skill tree design is good synergy and good diversity, and I think with all the characters in this game, we have a ton of that.
I definitely agree. I think one of the biggest steps in the skill trees was that each character has their own like now like unique aspect of their skill trees. Like Amara has multiple action skills. Zane can have double. I think that in and of itself was a huge boost to um, like diversity in builds and gameplay mechanics. So super happy about that. The only thing about the skill trees that I wish had been a little bit better was like just non-working skills. I didn't think that that was very acceptable to have
No.
at launch. But in terms
Although,
of it, I
did you
think
see that? You know, Reddit had that Zane thread where it's like all these skills aren't working.
yeah, I saw that.
Turned out that was mostly not true.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, someone on the forums went and tested them and actually put up videos and images and shots, and it turns out all those skills are working. The guy that did that on Reddit did what he was talking about and didn't know how to properly test.
You love that.
So like that's what sucks. Like those things get spread around. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is unacceptable." I'm like, it's actually just like the damage. Like Zane just doesn't have as much multiplicatives. Those big damage ones, but like the shit's working. Not all of it. There's a few things that aren't working that well with Zane, but like yeah, it's that was completely blown out of proportion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like a weird thing in the community right now where it's like I see. Well, I don't know what your experience is, but like people that are like YouTubers that are not Borderlands YouTubers, but like the people that like cover like a lot of content and go from game to game. Like
Yep.
I was looking at some of their builds and like they were just like, for example, like on Amara, I'm not gonna name any YouTubers, but like on Amara, like I just knew some interactions that like didn't work that they were saying did work, and like it was just interesting kind of there because it's like it's not something you can fault them for like not knowing really,
Yeah.
because like things it was this weird thing where like things should be working as they say but they weren't, and then people
Yep.
were using things that didn't work
Didn't work.
because
Yeah.
cause they said that they would, and I don't know, it just kind of made an interesting scene where I don't know, you couldn't be upset
Yeah.
at those people, but it I don't know. It made me frustrated too because I would put out a video using something that I thought worked as intended, and then I'd do some more testing or have someone tell me, "Oh, that doesn't work," even though it says it does. And we're like, "Well, damn."
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely had some of that with like my Amara Sheriff build, and I mean, when I first put it out, I had some things that were wrong because I was new to playing her and I just didn't know. But then I kind of changed them and updated them. But yeah, then there were some things I expected to work or didn't expect to, and yeah, they're like Amara's got very weird interactions too.
Yeah, with all of her action skills.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Right. I think we'll. Are you? I think we're gonna end the podcast. Not right there. We'll do a little like outro, but I think we've covered most of the questions.
Yeah, we've gone almost
People have
2
asked.
hours, so
All All right. Yeah, we knew this was gonna be
Yep.
a longer one. All right, Dirch, if you wanna say goodbye, and then I'll do my outro, and we'll call
All
it a
right. Well,
podcast.
yeah. Thanks for spending almost 2 hours with us, guys. I appreciate it. Hopefully, you enjoyed the conversation. If you guys don't know me and don't have my stuff, you should come check out my YouTube channel because I do this a lot where I will just talk for a stupid amount of time, and I quite enjoy it. And I've done some similar things like this on my channel too, and sometimes I'll have guests on to really do deep dives and talk about things, and it's just fun. We like talking Borderlands, so yeah, come join that, and then you can find me on Twitter, Discord, Facebook, and often in the forums because I'm a moderator there and spend a lot of time on that because right now there's a lot going on there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dirch, for agreeing to be on this, and also my first guest. This went really well, and maybe we'll have Dirch on for more podcasts. I'd love that. But this was Moxsy's Bar. We're doing this every Sunday, guys. I'll post this to YouTube. On the YouTube post, we'll have timestamps for the video, and also I'm gonna look into getting this on Spotify, so people that would like to listen to it on the go more easily be able to do that. But every Sunday, Moxsy's Bar. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much, Dirch, for being here. Really interesting to hear your different perspectives on things, and overall, great episode. Thank you guys so much. We're not going to end the stream right here, but we are going to end the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you in the next one. Peace.
All the